The person you like talking to is talking about you to someone else, and you need to hear this clearly without fear or fantasy clouding it. If you are hearing this right now, it is not random. There is someone occupying your thoughts in a quiet but persistent way, someone whose name rises effortlessly in your mind without intention. Someone whose words echo long after conversations end, someone you replay moments with, analyze pauses from, and feel drawn to late at night, even when you act indifferent during the day. And here is the truth you were not expecting to face so directly. The person you enjoy talking to is talking about you to someone else, not casually, not as a joke, not as background noise. They are talking about you because you have crossed into their emotional space. And once that happens, it cannot remain silent. Let's slow this down because what is unfolding beneath the surface is far deeper than it appears on the outside. This is not about coincidence or imagination. It is about emotional awareness, meeting energetic exchange. When someone begins speaking about you to another person, especially in an emotionally reflective way, something shifts internally for both of you. Attention turns into focus. Focus turns into emotional gravity. Thoughts begin looping back to you without effort. Curiosity deepens and connection quietly strengthens. You may have noticed this pull recently. You feel more aware of them than before. Their presence feels louder, even in silence. Gaps between messages feel heavier. Their words linger longer in your mind. That is not fantasy. That is emotional attention returning to its source. You are sensing the echo of conversations you were never physically present in. Now it is important to understand what they are actually saying about you, because it is not shallow or surface level. They are not just mentioning your name or listing facts about you. They are speaking in a way that reveals emotional impact. They say things like, "I don't know why, but talking to them feels different." They admit that conversations with you feel calm, grounding, or unusually honest. They acknowledge that you understand them in a way most people do not. Sometimes they ask questions about you. Sometimes they defend you when others misunderstand. Sometimes they compare you to others and you come out on top, even when they try to sound neutral. Emotion leaks through their words, no matter how carefully they try to contain it. And the person listening can feel that weight. You might wonder why they are talking to someone else instead of coming directly to you. And this is where honesty matters most. They are not doing this because they do not care. They are doing it because they care more than they feel ready to admit. Talking about you becomes a way of processing feelings they do not yet know how to hold. It allows them to test the reality of their emotions without risking vulnerability with you. They seek reassurance, clarity, and grounding. They fear moving too fast. They fear misreading signals. They fear ruining what already exists, being misunderstood, or facing rejection before they feel emotionally steady. So instead of speaking to you directly, they speak around you. But understand this clearly. You are not on the sidelines of the conversation. You are at its center. There is also a subtle but powerful sign that proves this connection is not one-sided, even if it feels quiet on the surface. When you speak with them, their questions go deeper than usual. They remember small details that most people would forget. They reference things you said weeks or months ago without effort. They mirror your tone, your humor, your emotional rhythm. That is not accidental behavior. That is someone who has already emotionally analyzed you. When a person talks about you to others, they begin seeing you from multiple perspectives, not just their own. This deepens attachment because they are no longer interacting with you impulsively. They are reflecting on you. And reflection is where emotional bonds quietly strengthen even before words are ever spoken aloud. An attachment always reveals itself through attention. Even when words are restrained, attention is the currency of emotional investment. And right now, yours is being quietly exchanged behind the scenes. The fact that they are speaking about you, reflecting on you, revisiting moments with you, is proof that you occupy mental and emotional space. Attachment does not announce itself loudly at first. It whispers through focus, through repetition, through the inability to stop circling back to one person. When someone is attached, their mind returns there naturally. And that is exactly what is happening. You are not forcing your way into their thoughts. You are being pulled there because something about you feels unresolved, meaningful, and emotionally safe enough to explore slowly rather than impulsively. What makes this even more significant is that the other person they are talking to already senses what you might still doubt. From the outside, patterns are easier to see. That person notices how often your name comes up, how their tone softens when they mention you, how their energy shifts without them realizing it. They may tease them gently, saying things like, "You talk about them a lot," or "Just tell them already." Sometimes they point out the smile that appears unconsciously. Sometimes they simply listen and let the truth surface on its own. In many cases, this third person becomes a mirror, reflecting feelings your person hasn't fully admitted to themselves yet. And once that reflection exists, it subtly reshapes how they see you and what they can no longer ignore. This is why it matters that you do not confront or rush this moment. If you push for clarity, demand answers, or force a definition too early, you risk interrupting a natural emotional unfolding that is already in motion. What is happening now is quiet, but it is powerful. They are moving from curiosity to emotional investment, from interest to internal attachment. That middle stage is fragile. It needs space, not pressure. If you allow it to breathe, it deepens naturally. If you rush it, it retreats defensively. Right now, the connection is forming in the subconscious, the place where feelings become real before language catches up. Interrupting that process can stall something that was steadily growing on its own. Instead of reacting impulsively, there is a very specific way to move that protects the connection and allows it to mature. Do not change who you are. Do not chase. Do not withdraw dramatically in hopes of provoking a response. And do not test them emotionally. All of those actions introduce instability. What you should do instead is remain authentic, stay warm without becoming overly available. Respond, but do not pursue. Let conversations flow naturally rather than steering them toward outcomes. Your calm presence is what made them start talking about you in the first place. You feel safe to think about. You feel easy to feel with. You are not emotionally overwhelming. That balance creates comfort, and comfort is what allows attachment to deepen without fear. Eventually, there will be a shift and you will feel it before it is explained. One day, their messages will carry a different weight. They will linger longer in conversation. They will open up more easily. Their questions will stop feeling curious and start feeling personal. This happens when talking about you is no longer enough to process what they feel. When the emotional pressure builds to a point where only direct connection with you can relieve it. Indirect interest naturally turns into direct action. At that moment, silence feels harder for them than vulnerability. And that is when words finally cross the space that attention has already been filling for a long time. There is also a truth here that may feel uncomfortable to accept. Sometimes the reason they talk about you to someone else is because they are trying to convince themselves not to fall. They analyze, rationalize, and process in hopes of staying in control. But the irony is this: the more they talk about you, the more real you become. You stop being an idea. You stop being a possibility. You become a presence in their emotional world. And once someone reaches that stage, there is no true return to casual. Even if they try to minimize it, something irreversible has already happened inside them. This is why the connection feels quiet but heavy at the same time. It is not loud love. It is not dramatic attraction. It does not come with chaos or confusion. This is slow burn attachment, the kind that builds steadily, invisibly beneath everyday conversations. The kind that grows stronger precisely because it is not rushed. It carries weight because it is real, because it has been thought about, discussed, reflected on, and felt in silence. And slow burn connections, once they surface, tend to last longer than anything that explodes too fast to understand itself. This kind of connection builds trust before it seeks intensity. It grows emotionally long before anything physical is even considered. It feels safe rather than overwhelming, steady rather than chaotic. That is why it lasts longer than sparks that burn fast and disappear just as quickly. This is why the connection feels calm, but undeniably deep. This is why it feels unfinished, like something paused mid-sentence rather than ended. There is a sense of continuation in it, an awareness that something is still forming beneath the surface. And that is why you are here reading this now, because part of you already knows this connection is not accidental, temporary, or imagined. It is incomplete only because it is still becoming something real. What this means for you is more important than you may realize. It means you matter more than you think you do. You are already part of their emotional world, even if it has not been openly acknowledged yet. You are not being forgotten in silence. You are being discussed, considered, and emotionally processed. Your presence has weight. Your words have stayed. Your energy has lingered. When someone speaks about you to others, it means you have crossed from being casual into being meaningful. That shift does not happen lightly. It happens when someone feels something they cannot easily dismiss. You are not waiting in the background. You are already involved, just not loudly yet. Sometimes love does not begin with declarations or dramatic moments. Sometimes it begins quietly in conversations you never hear, in thoughts shared with someone else because they feel too fragile to bring directly to you. Sometimes it starts as reflection before it becomes expression. But energy never lies. Emotional attention leaves traces, and you are feeling them now. The pull, the awareness, the sense of closeness without explanation. All of it is feedback from something real forming on both sides. You are not imagining this. You are responding to something that already exists, even if it has not yet been spoken out loud. Here is the final message you need to hear clearly. The person you like talking to is talking about you to someone else because you touched something real inside them, and real things do not stay hidden forever. They surface when the time is right, when fear softens into courage, when reflection turns into action. Let it unfold. Let it grow naturally. Let them come to you when they are ready. You do not need to chase, prove, or change anything. You already are the reason this connection exists, and that is enough. Sometimes the most meaningful connections develop in silence, in the spaces where nothing is officially said, but everything is deeply felt. When two people begin to matter to each other emotionally, the process often starts long before either of them is ready to name it. Thoughts return without effort. Attention lingers without intention. One person becomes a quiet reference point in the other's day. That is why these connections feel so different from surface attraction. They do not demand attention. They invite it. And once that invitation is accepted internally, the bond starts forming whether or not words are exchanged. When someone talks about you to another person, they are integrating you into their emotional reality. They are trying to understand why you feel important, why conversations with you carry weight, why your presence feels calming instead of draining. This reflection is not casual. It is the mind's way of creating meaning. And meaning is the foundation of attachment. Even if they try to stay logical, emotion slips through because feelings cannot be fully contained once they are acknowledged internally, even indirectly. What makes this stage so powerful is its subtlety. There is no pressure yet, no expectations, no labels. That freedom allows honesty to exist without fear. They can admit things about you to someone else that they are not yet brave enough to say to you. And in doing so, they become more emotionally invested, not less. Each conversation about you strengthens the connection because repetition reinforces importance. The more you are mentioned, the more real you become in their inner world. You may feel this shift as a sense of closeness that doesn't have a clear explanation. You might notice that they feel emotionally familiar even if the relationship hasn't deepened outwardly. That familiarity comes from shared emotional space, not shared experiences. It comes from being thought about, discussed, and emotionally processed. This is why absence doesn't weaken the bond at this stage. Sometimes it strengthens it because the connection lives in reflection rather than proximity. There is also a reason this kind of attachment feels safe instead of overwhelming. It is not driven by impulse or fantasy. It is built on comfort, curiosity, and trust. They are learning who you are emotionally, not just reacting to attraction. That kind of bond grows slowly, but it anchors deeply. It doesn't rush toward outcome. It moves toward understanding, and understanding creates stability. If you try to force clarity too early, you disrupt that natural process. But if you remain steady, present, and authentic, the connection continues to mature. Eventually, the emotional distance between thought and expression becomes too small to maintain. What was once discussed privately begins to seek direct expression. When that happens, it feels natural, not forced, because the emotional groundwork has already been laid. This is why patience matters here, not waiting in uncertainty, but trusting the unfolding. What is forming is not fragile because it is slow. It is strong because it is intentional, and when something grows this way, it doesn't disappear easily. It evolves. What makes this kind of connection so remarkable is that it exists largely beneath the surface, yet its effects are profoundly tangible. You may feel it in subtle ways. A lingering thought, a small smile when their name crosses your mind, or a sudden awareness that they occupy more space in your day than anyone else. These are signs that emotional gravity is forming. It is quiet, yes, but it exerts influence over thoughts, moods, and even decisions. You don't need a dramatic declaration to validate it. The bond is already real because attention and reflection are the building blocks of attachment, and those cannot be fabricated or forced. When someone is talking about you to another person, it is often a sign of internal processing that cannot be rushed. They are trying to reconcile their feelings, gauge their spirit toward you, and measure their own comfort with vulnerability. Talking indirectly allows them to explore emotions safely, without risking the connection you already share. They can admit admiration, curiosity, and even affection in a controlled way, which ultimately strengthens their emotional investment. In essence, every conversation about you outside your direct awareness is a rehearsal of sincerity, a preparation for the eventual moment when they will speak directly to you without hesitation. This stage also explains why the connection feels unfinished or like something is lingering in the air. It is incomplete by design because it is still forming internally. Emotional understanding and attachment develop first in thought and reflection. By the time they act directly, much of the groundwork has already been laid. That is why patience is not passive, it is active trust. The moments of waiting, reflection, and subtle attention all contribute to a bond that will feel deeper, steadier, and more enduring than any connection that is rushed or forced. You may notice that small details now carry extra weight. A remembered joke, a minor preference, or a comment from months ago suddenly feels significant. That is because they are noticing patterns, analyzing your personality, and creating a mental map of who you are emotionally. When someone invests in this level of reflection, their attachment strengthens silently. They are learning your rhythm, your boundaries, and your emotional landscape. And when they finally engage with you directly in a more open way, it feels effortless, intimate, and profoundly aligned because their understanding is already established on a subconscious level. Finally, this kind of attachment reminds us that connection is not always about speed or intensity. Real bonds are nurtured in quiet reflection, in subtle attention, in the spaces where words have not yet caught up with feelings. You are already present in their emotional world, whether they have spoken to you directly about it or not. That presence is meaningful, powerful, and lasting. And when the moment arrives for direct expression, it will carry the weight of all the unseen thoughts, reflections, and quiet admiration that have been building over time. This is the hidden strength of slow, thoughtful, emotional connection. What is fascinating about this type of connection is how it transforms ordinary interactions into something far more meaningful. Every conversation, every laugh shared, every pause carries weight because it is not fleeting. It is observed, processed, and remembered. Emotional investment is happening even in moments that may seem casual or trivial. On the surface, that is why subtlety matters so much. You may feel like nothing has changed outwardly, yet the internal landscape of their feelings is shifting continuously. This is the stage where attachment is being solidified quietly, like roots growing beneath the soil. By the time any external sign emerges, the bond has already become resilient. Another layer of this phenomenon is the way they begin to prioritize you unconsciously. Thoughts of you return naturally, sometimes without deliberate intention. Decisions may even be influenced by you without you realizing it. Small preferences, fleeting considerations, or an unspoken hope for connection. This demonstrates that you have become a part of their emotional framework. When someone is thinking about you, reflecting on you, and sharing you in conversation with others, you are no longer peripheral. You are now central in their emotional processing, a reference point for understanding themselves and their feelings. That is why your presence feels significant even in your absence. This process also reveals the power of patience and restraint. You do not need to intervene, clarify, or accelerate the connection. Doing so risks breaking the delicate rhythm that is forming. Allowing space gives emotions room to mature naturally. The person is constructing an understanding of you internally, building a mental and emotional map that will guide their eventual interactions. Once this internal work is complete, engagement will feel natural, confident, and meaningful. The bond will no longer be dependent on observation alone. It will manifest externally, fully aligned with the emotions they have been cultivating in private. Furthermore, the indirect nature of this connection creates a unique depth. When someone talks about you to another person, they are exploring feelings they cannot yet express to you directly. They are articulating admiration, curiosity, affection, or even vulnerability in a controlled environment. This allows them to gauge the reality of their emotions, experiment with honesty, and prepare for eventual direct expression. Each conversation about you is a rehearsal of authenticity. They are learning how to integrate you into their world safely and responsibly. The more they reflect, the deeper their attachment grows, forming a connection that is steady rather than impulsive, enduring rather than superficial. Finally, what makes this type of bond profound is its invisibility. The quiet, patient growth of emotional attachment feels almost intangible, yet it carries enormous weight. It is not measured by loud declarations or overt gestures, but by the subtle, repeated, and consistent ways someone's mind and heart return to you. You are present in their thoughts, in their reflections, and in the space between what is said and what is felt. And when the time is right, that internal depth will surface naturally in ways that feel authentic, effortless, and deeply resonant. This is how lasting emotional bonds are born through attention, reflection, and patient, unseen care. At the heart of this connection is a profound truth. The most enduring bonds are forged in the quiet, often unnoticed moments that others might dismiss as trivial. It is in these small details, how they remember a phrase you said weeks ago, how they note a fleeting expression, how they bring you up in conversation to gauge their own feelings, that the emotional foundation is built. This is why it feels both light and heavy at the same time. Light, because it unfolds naturally without pressure. Heavy, because it carries the weight of reflection, intention, and emotional investment. These subtle gestures are proof that you are more than a thought. You are a presence that matters deeply to them. The indirect way they engage with you shows the courage required to navigate emotions responsibly. Talking about you to someone else is a safe rehearsal for honesty, a way to process what they feel without risking rejection or misunderstanding. They are exploring your significance to them, measuring the depth of their own attachment and creating clarity internally before taking action externally. This is why you sense their presence even when they are silent. Their mind is occupied with you. Their energy is returning to you constantly, and their reflections are shaping how they will interact with you when they are ready. You are part of an evolving internal dialogue that involves consideration, emotional rehearsal, and growing admiration. What makes this process even more impactful is that it teaches patience and self-trust. You do not need to chase, push, or manipulate the situation. Authenticity is your strongest tool. When you remain grounded, warm, and genuine, you reinforce the connection rather than destabilize it. Every thoughtful response you make, every calm interaction you maintain communicates a stability that encourages them to continue exploring their feelings safely. This is the stage where energy flows more powerfully than words. By staying true to yourself, you provide the emotional space that allows their attachment to develop fully. The bond strengthens quietly under the radar, yet its effect is undeniable. Attachment formed in this way also reshapes perception. As they talk about you, analyze your interactions, and observe your presence in subtle ways, their understanding of you becomes multi-dimensional. You are no longer just someone they know. You are someone they recognize emotionally, someone who occupies a real place in their inner life. This depth of perception creates an unseen intimacy that will make eventual direct interactions feel effortless and profoundly connected. When the time comes, the shift from indirect to direct attention will feel natural because the emotional groundwork has already been laid through thought, reflection, and subtle observation. Finally, this connection demonstrates that emotional significance cannot be rushed. It thrives in the spaces between words, in attention paid without expectation, in reflection that precedes expression. The person thinking about you, speaking about you, and reflecting on you is engaging in a process that ensures their eventual interaction will be genuine, thoughtful, and deeply aligned with the reality of how they feel. You are already present in their emotional world, already meaningful, already a part of the inner life they are carefully constructing. When direct connection arrives, it will be powerful, enduring, and real. Not because of haste, but because of patience, reflection, and the slow, deliberate cultivation of attachment. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating content that speaks to the heart and mind. Every like, every share, every subscription makes a difference. It allows these messages to reach the people who need them most. We appreciate you for being here, for listening, and for allowing yourself to connect with these ideas. Thank you for your support, for your attention, and for being part of this community. Your engagement means more than words can express, and we're grateful to have you with us on this journey.